What's up, everybody? Welcome to Simple Songwriting episode 21. We can now drink. We're old enough to drink, Aubrey. Can you believe it? Uh, yeah, we
Everybody
are.
waits till 21,
What?
like they should, because we're responsible people and wait till 21, like everybody else should.
Yes, 100%. I certainly did not drink before 21. No way. Um, we are here talking about the latest Linkin Park album, which just came out. For us, it came out last night. We're recording this on Friday, so yeah, we're gonna be chatting about that album. It's obviously it's a pretty big deal. It's the first Linkin Park album in like 7 years, and the first one with a new singer since the unfortunate passing of Chester Bennington. So we're gonna chat about our thoughts and break down some of the songs and talk about them. But before we get to that, Aubrey, what have you been listening to this week? What's your what
Girl.
you got?
Let's see here. All That Remains had a new EP come out.
I did not know that. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. It's good. I like it. It's All That Remains. To me, this feels like a little bit more some of their older stuff, like the Fall Out Ideals era,
Yeah.
which is my favorite era personally. Um, Not a big fan of Lacuna Coil, but they've released some singles for their upcoming album. It comes out in February next year.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's worth checking out. Lacuna Coil is just not my thing. It's not bad. It's just
Yeah,
I'm not
and
a Lacuna Coil
I
fan.
never really. I'm kind of with you. I never really got into Lacuna Coil.
Um, and then did we talk about Sarah Landry? Was that somebody that you told me about?
Sarah Landry.
Okay. No. I'm trying to remember. Okay, she's a techno girl.
Oh,
Um,
I don't think you mentioned her.
I listened to like she popped up on an Instagram feed or something, so I checked her out. She's techno.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
had that Bridge City Sinners show on Wednesday.
Yeah, I saw you
Which
post
was
about that.
which was my first folk slash bluegrass concert I've ever been to.
Right. They were the ones that we talked
Um,
about, right?
yeah. Um, it was interesting. They played with a couple. They played with like three people. Lightning Lucas, Yes Ma'am, or Lucas Lightning, one of those two. Um, Yes Ma'am, and Holy Locust.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what to expect. Never been to a show like this.
Right.
I did not realize how politically charged uh
Oh,
bluegrass slash folk music can be,
do they feel
which is
very?
fine. It doesn't bother me, but it was just a lot of very clear. It was very clear on what side they stand on. It was
Interesting.
something I would have expected from like a Green Day show, or like I'm trying to think of some other
Yeah.
bands who um
Just
Rise Against. They're a little bit more subtle, but I think like anytime you think of like a punk alternative band, like I was like, oh,
yeah.
I just wasn't expecting that from this.
Rage Against the Machine, stuff like that.
Yes. It was a good show.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, to
I
be
think that's
fair,
all.
the election was a week ago. I think
Yeah.
everybody's feeling the political fallout of that. So it's been an
Oh,
intense week and a half. But
I
cool.
I also discovered a band called Spliced.
Spliced. Okay.
Yeah, I've only heard like one song. Um,
Cool.
check them out.
I will check them out. Yeah, I was just looking at All That Remains because I know that Jason Richardson was their new guitarist, but I wasn't sure if he
Yeah.
was like, if he had actually, if he was still with them because I feel like they announced that he was the guitarist back in like the pandemic or something. But yeah, I'll definitely check that EP out because I love All That Remains and I love Jason Richardson. So I would love to hear, them just shredding it out together.
What um what is Jason from?
He was a solo
Or like
guitarist.
Okay, I was gonna ask what
Yeah,
his significance was, but that sounds bad. But
he
you know what I mean.
no, he was in a few. He was in a band. I'm sorry, I don't remember which band it was. It was like a
That's okay. No, no,
it
no.
was a super heavy band, but he mainly got big from being a solo guitarist because he's just incredible. Like he is a shred technical shredding like wizard. He's just a machine.
Okay,
Like he's up there with like he's probably faster and more technical than like John Petrucci, which is saying something
the
because
statement.
it is, but he actually like I don't make that statement lightly. Like Jason Richardson is an absolute monster. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. I will definitely be checking that out.
Now that I know that they have a new guitar player person, I will say that he does a very good job of kind of keeping the All That Remains vibes. Because I would have like it sounds.
Mhm.
I don't think this is bad when I say that it sounds like the exact same as the old stuff. Like
Yeah. Well, I
he
think
fills those shoes really well. Then
I I wish I could remember. I think his name was Ali was the guitarist before. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking, but Ali was absolutely he was a genius on the guitar, like truly. He was just absolutely insane. And I think that Jason Richardson really looked up to him. So that makes sense. I think it's like, and I think that he was such an integral part of their sound, the guitar work for All That Remains, because
yeah,
it was always so unique, you know. Just super interesting. Yeah, Ollie Herbert, that was his name. He was just a monster, like an absolute monster on the guitar. So that's why, you know, when he passed away, I was like, who could they possibly get to actually play his stuff? Because he was like insane. And then they announced Jason Richardson, and I was like, that's probably the best person they could have picked. Like I can't think of a better fit. So because like you know you can look at like the Polyphia guys and they're very technical as well, but their style is very different, whereas Jason Richardson is a like death metal heavy metal type of dude, so he fits perfectly with like the heaviness of All That Remains, but also like the shredding and all the other elements. So he's, to me, he's a perfect fit. So excited to hear.
yeah,
I just had no clue they came out with something new. I don't know. It just it missed me. So
all
yeah.
good. What I'm for.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you're definitely better about catching new artists and like newer artists and stuff than I am. Um, that's faux show. Cool. Uh, was that everything? We leaving anything out?
Not that I know of.
Cool, cool. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've listened to anything new this week. I like at all. I have been slammed with work. I don't even think I've. Well, actually, I was listening to some Avenged Sevenfold this week. I listened to like all of the stage and then all of Life Is But a Dream again, just because it's been a really crazy week at work. So I was just that's what I was doing. Aside from the new Linkin Park, obviously. So, and
Yeah.
yeah. But I think on that note, then we can actually dive into you know the main course of this episode. Linkin Park's new album From Zero has come out. Uh, it is officially out. They released like I think two more singles since the last time we talked, and I didn't listen to either of them going in. Uh, so that was good. It was like Casualty and Two Faced. Um, yeah. So Aubrey, what are your thoughts? Let's hear them.
Um,
Let it
I think
out.
the album. I think the album's okay.
Whoa.
Um,
Whoa.
I think that I actually listened to the Two Faced single on my drive home Wednesday because they released it Wednesday. I didn't know they released Casualty. I missed that one.
They played it live.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did see that. I just didn't watch it because I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna wait for the album.
Yeah.
Um, so mostly because I was driving home from that folk bluegrass show, and I was like, I need something different.
Need to pump up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked the Two-Faced single.
Hmm.
My general consensus of the album is that um it's average. I probably This is gonna sound bad, but I probably won't ever listen to it again after today. And it's not because it's
Yeah.
bad, it just doesn't impact me. And there were a couple things that kind of miffed me. Um,
Ooh.
so I listened to the album, like, no joke, 10 times today, in various different settings, through
Yeah.
headphones, in my car, blah, 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 blah. Um, and I don't know, kind of before I do a deep dive, do you want to give your general things? I feel like we're about to segue into like a breakdown of the album,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. I feel similarly actually. I do think that it was I think maybe I'm a little more positive than you. I think
Yeah.
it's I do think it's above average. Like I do like the album, but it's not like blowing my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
It is I don't want to say that it's safe because I don't think that it's necessarily safe. They do a lot
Yeah.
of things that are interesting. But it's not like
Not earth
yeah, like
groundbreaking.
it's kind of I think it's like yeah, it's definitely not like blowing my mind. Holy shit, I've never heard anything like this before. Like it's not like that, but it's also not like cookie cutter super safe like they just didn't even
Yeah.
try. I in fact, I feel kind of the opposite. I feel like they were extremely passionate about this album. And it almost like to me it almost feels more like a passion project. Like
Uh,
they really enjoyed writing these songs and they put a lot of work into them. Which I like. And so I do feel positively about the album. I do think that there are, which we can get into in the breakdown. I actually agree with you. There are some moments on this album and some songs where I'm like, I don't, you guys could have maybe approached that a little better. It's definitely not perfect, but overall, in general, I'm feeling positive about it. It's okay. I think I will listen to this album, but only certain songs, here and there. So, but yeah, what I'm
um,
curious, what were the points that like you said,
yeah, so
miffed you?
I think like there's probably like three or four. The first one was the intro.
Yeah,
And this is kind of two in one. I don't have a problem with intros. I think the intro is cool. But we had talked about this, talked about one of the songs, I can't remember. But basically, like their little clip at the end where they're like in the studio, like we got it, or like get
yeah,
your screaming pants on. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cute. Like, I tend to like little things like that here and there, but I just feel like they did it like what, four or five times on this album.
yeah. They did. I completely agree, and that's kind of like it did start to get old after a while. I think by like the third one, I was like, come on, guys.
Well, but I felt like the first one from zero, and she's like, oh, like from nothing. And, like, that low key, like, that pissed me off because I was like, "This is not from nothing." This band's been around for I don't wanna say forever because that's silly to say,
Hmm.
but, you know,
20 years,
20 years, and
25.
to say that this is coming from nothing, I think is just bullshit, and
Yeah.
I think maybe borderline disrespectful to the legacy that's been left.
You know, I didn't make that connection, but I totally see what you're saying actually.
Um, and I wanna point out too that with the controversy of Emily filling the shoes, like, I defended her. I think she's, like like, I didn't feel like she was a bad choice. I still don't feel like she's a bad choice. I just think it's arrogant to be like, "Oh, from, like, nothing?"
Yeah.
And, like, what are you talking about?
Y- Yeah, like the whole point was that the the from zero from like it's more of an emotional standpoint,
Yeah,
like coming out like after At least that's how I think it is widely interpreted. It's
Yeah,
coming like an emotional standpoint. What happens when Chester Bennington passes? Like, where do we go from
yeah,
here? Where do we go from
and,
that low point?
yeah, and I think that makes perfect sense. Um,
So then,
I just feel like
it's like if and actually to state that and make that the name of the album gives the album some like self-awareness and like
yeah,
some depth, but then for them on like the intro to almost like
like nothing we've done in the past matters anymore.
right, or like it's almost like it's already stated, the album is already called From Zero, you don't like just leave it like that, but then for them to
Yeah,
say like from nothing, it's like, well, chill. Like,
yeah.
you didn't need to say that, and now it's I see what you're saying. I hadn't made that connection, but yeah, I get that.
I do also want to follow it up with I think that, you know, I still think Emily's a great fit for the band. And I think that, they probably are looking at this as like kind of a starting over and trying to recreate themselves. The
Hmm.
problem is that I feel like it could have just been done in a more appropriate way.
Well, and that's a very like that's a very um I don't know, that it's very interesting. Like, it's an interesting choice to make.
Yeah.
Like, why did you
And I say
even
that,
say that?
yeah, and I say that too, to follow it up with like, I don't want more of the same Linkin Park, but not with the same singer. I think if you're listening to this album thinking you're gonna get more of the same, like I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, it is really just like I'm not expecting more of the same. I don't for whatever reason, it just really rubbed me the wrong way.
It's funny because maybe to kind of like as a jumping off point from what you're saying, I actually didn't really like the intro like for a different reason. I felt like the way that it
It
ended
was
and
it
led
was
into,
useless.
yeah, it was kind of useless. It served no purpose to me. Um, you know, I do, it does, good things go. The last song does lead back into the intro, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe that's like you know, I don't know. Maybe that's an homage or something. I don't know what they're going for with that. I'm not
yeah.
quite, but yeah, I
It,
did think it felt just a little useless, and the way they kind of cut her off at the end of the intro, going straight into Emptiness Machine. I'm like, okay, I don't understand what I got out of that. And then with
yeah,
you kind of telling me, because that was like the only thing she said, right? Was like from zero, as
yeah,
in from nothing. It's like, okay, and then actually with the full context of like her saying it's from nothing, it really does sort of be, make me think, well, yeah, what was the point? Like, it's doing negative. You're damaging yourself. Like, stop hitting yourself.
yeah.
So, okay.
I didn't catch that at the end though, that it recycles back into the intro.
Yes, it does.
You're right, it does. I just listened to it again really quickly.
Yep, it goes right back to the
Um,
intro.
that's interesting.
I mean, that you could maybe take that as like a metaphor for like the good things go being about
Yeah,
Chester coming back to zero.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
don't know,
can
that
get behind that.
it might be a stretch. Here's what I will say: I don't think that they intended.
No, there's no malicious intent here at
It's
all.
just
Like
a.
they're not trying to be ugly.
It's just tone deaf.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it, and
yeah.
and
I
kind.
don't think they're trying to be disrespectful. I just think that they'll me included, there's a certain group of people who are gonna be unpleased with it.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Um, then obviously it goes into the emptiness machine. I mean, we've talked about that. I don't
Yeah.
feel like we need to talk about that song anymore.
No.
I Okay, before I say my next statement, if you had to pick a favorite song and a least favorite song on the album, what would you pick?
Oh boy. Okay.
No pressure. I can go first if you want time to think.
No, I think I
Um,
I think I know my answers actually. I mean, do you want to go first?
my least favorite song is "Cut the Bridge."
Yeah. What's your favorite? Do you know your favorite?
Um, no,
Okay.
not yet.
So for my least favorite song, I'll be honest, it is either Casualty or Cut the Bridge. Um,
Interesting.
Yeah, we can talk about Casualty when we get to it, but Cut the Bridge, I feel like, so I this is kind of what I mean with this album, where I'm like, this is a passion project. They were really passionate about these songs, and
Yeah.
I like it. But Cut the Bridge, like, let's just let's make the obvious statement. The snare should not go pow 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 throughout the entire song. They should not have done that. Um, and especially with it being one of the longer songs on the album, like,
Uh,
I really like the song, like, compositionally. I like the stuff that they do, but I'd say about 2/3 of the way through the song, I was like, why are they doing that? Like,
Ballers told them to.
seriously, I was like, that is such a bizarre choice. And it's funny because I don't think that, like, we'll talk about Casualty in a second, but like, I feel like the whole rest of the album was very tight and like very compact and like moment to moment, each moment to moment was pretty good. But then Cut the Bridge, it's like, yeah, just pop, 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 pop for like 3 minutes. I'm like, guys, come on. Like, and I actually think it's a cool song, like, around that snare, but
Mm.
it's very, like, so yeah, I mean, it might be my least favorite just because of that, like, literally just because of that snare. If they had done a different drum beat, I think we'd be having a very different conversation about this song right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Um, the so for me, the song just sounds like something Machine Gun Kelly would have made. Like that's
uh
what I think of when I hear that song.
yeah.
Um, I was flipping through the lyrics really quickly. I do feel like it got a little kind of repetitive and long, like you were saying, and kind of dragged on a little bit.
Well, the drum beat just doesn't change. Like, either the drums are playing or they're not. Like, the drums are just cut out completely, except for, I think, an interlude section before the final chorus. But when the drums are playing, aside from that short interlude section, it's just ba 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 ba, and it's like, that is cool for a little while. Like, you could maybe do it for like just the chorus or just the verse, but to do it for both the chorus and the verse and the bridges and all that, it's like, guys, seriously, like, that's not, I don't know. It's funny because that was the first new song that we heard. I listened to the whole album, including like the songs I've heard.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
and
same.
and like, so with this being the first new song on the album, I was
Kind of a letdown.
yeah, I was like, what the hell? Like, what is this,
Yeah,
So, yeah. And but the thing is like, I liked the chord. In fact, here, I'm gonna play it. You won't be able to hear it,
yeah,
but
that's okay.
I'll play little parts of it. Like,
I did feel like
hmm?
while you're pulling it up, the album as a whole, I felt like did a good job of taking parts from all the different like time or inspiration from the different pieces, places, and time of the different
The band
Linkin
as a
Park
whole.
albums. Yeah,
Yes.
like
Let's talk about that when we get to Casualty, actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
Here, I'm gonna play it right now. So, to the people listening, here's what I mean by the snare. Listen to this. Right. Bop, 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 bop. There it is, still going, still going, still going, even during the soft verse, still going. And then they cut it out here. But it's funny because even during that soft bridge, they actually still have it going. It's just it's just claps instead of a snare. And then done playing it, it's like, the song, I think, is actually cool. Like that vocal, cut the bridge, what is the line there? Cut the bridge, we run.
It is cut. Hold on, I got the lyrics. Cut the bridge. Cut it down. Cut it down. Sorry, let me get back to the
No, you're
blah blah
good.
blah blah blah. Cut the bridge we're on. Cut it
Oh
down.
yeah.
Cut it down. Cut it down.
Yeah, see, I think that's actually kind of a cool line. Like, cut the bridge, we're on, and like the melody is cool. Like, I like a lot of the moments, and even with Mike Shinoda, like, his parts are cool.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that you and I would be having a very different discussion. Like, this would be a really solid song if they had not done that with the snare. That is a wild decision. Um, so Yeah, I don't know. That's really it's hard for me to talk about anything else in that song without like because of that, because it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dynamic of the song is just completely thrown off because of that snare. Um
yeah.
so with that said, you and I never really discussed Heavy as the Crown. I will say, like, if unless you had anything else to say about Cut the Bridge.
I just all I can think of is Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Heavy as the Crown, I think, is a contender for the best song on the album. Uh, I,
I
I,
can get behind that.
I just think that they absolutely nailed every part of that song. It is fantastic. Emily sounds great. Mike sounds great. Everyone is on full blast. I think it's actually got like the best mix on the album. Here, I'm gonna play a little bit of it real quick. This part right here, like the mix on that is really really good. I just played a little bit of the intro, Aubrey, and it's like, yeah, Heavy as the Crown, they absolutely nailed. Like I can't take that away from them. Like they nailed that song. But yeah, that we've already heard that. Over Each Other we already did an episode on. I will say I think Over Each Other has grown on me a little bit. I actually like
I
that.
like Over Each Other.
Yeah, I think all of the singles that they released are great. So
I think they are the best songs on the album.
I I let's keep going. Let's keep going, and then we'll come back to
Okay.
best song. Okay,
Okay.
so you and I had discussed with Over Each Other what it meant at the end when they were like, "Get your screaming pants on," and
Yeah.
so you know, not to give myself props or anything, but yeah, Casualty I think is the like heavy song on the album. And I do not really like it. Um I think so Casualty makes me think a lot of like The Hunting Party, which I went back and listened to a few weeks ago, like all the way through.
Yeah.
And I just get this sense like when Linkin Park are, so if you go back to like Hybrid Theory and Meteora, right? I feel like at the time Linkin Park weren't trying to be the heaviest band.
Nah.
Like, and they knew that. They were just kind of embracing like their version of heavy. And
Yeah.
it was very heavy, but it wasn't heavy in the same way that like Slipknot or Pantera was heavy, you know? I feel like when Slipknot, like, and Hunting Party, they had a few moments like this too. I feel like when they try to do that, I it just doesn't really work. It doesn't work for me. So but here's the thing that I want to point out that really drives me nuts. Because this is my big one of my biggest complaints with Hunting Party is the guitar tones are just ass. Like it's like this overdriven, like it doesn't sound like they're using distortion. It sounds like they're using overdrive on the guitar tones, and it honestly gives it like this punk sound. I'm gonna play a little bit of Casualty real quick, Aubrey. You can listen
Yeah.
along. I'm just gonna play the intro. That right there,
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
like okay, so that it's like that. The riff is okay, but the tone is the tone. It's like they sapped all of the energy out of the tone. Like compare that tone. I'm gonna compare that tone to Heavy as the Crown. Like listen to this Casualty tone. Like the way the guitars sound. That like they sound like overdriven instead of distorted. Now listen to Heavy as the Crown. And listen to the heavy part of Heavy as the Crown where she screams.
Give the timestamp on that.
I was listening around like 155 on Heavy as the Crown. So when you hear that Heavy as the Crown tone, it's like it's I don't want to say it's smoothed out, but like there it sounds like the full guitar spectrum, like audio frequency spectrum, like it's a full guitar sound, and that's like what gives it like that large heavy sound, versus Casualty when they do that it's like it just, I don't know.
So, um, I was really thinking Casualty and was hoping Casualty would be like a banger of a song, especially with the
Yes.
"You're Screaming Pants On." Um, for me, it just kind of falls flat.
It,
It's not a very heavy song to me.
exactly. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is like it's they because they did this on hunting party where it's like I don't know why they do this. Whoever is their guitar tech or their guitar engineer or mixer or whoever that is telling them that in order to make a heavy song, they need to make their guitars sound like that, they need to fire that guy. They need to fucking fire that guy because this song could be really good. Like imagine that riff with like a Metallica tone, like jun, 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 jun,
Yeah,
jun. Like
yeah.
it would be a completely different monster. And so it's
Like,
like
no pun intended.
yeah, right. It would be some kind of monster. No, what were we gonna say though?
I was gonna say, I think part of my issue specifically for why the song disappoints me is because they're like, all right, get your screaming pants on. You have your scream, which honestly, I think even the scream kind of falls a little flat for me too.
It's a little forced. Like
Yeah,
and
it's.
it's
I mean, to me, it's a little bit more distorted than it is like a scream scream. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um,
Like she
and I think
sounds
that's part of
great
the reason.
doing screams on the other songs. Like
Yeah, yeah. It's not that she. I mean, she's capable. Like I've seen her live. She
mhm.
knows what she's doing. Um, I just feel like it. Like it's like a week. It's like I feel like they were prepping us to go like Super Saiyan 3, but we couldn't get past Super Saiyan.
Like
You know?
yeah. So I will say this about Casualty. Here's the things I'll compliment is that it's definitely a unique song. It's not like a typical song. Like the verses are unique. I think the chorus is pretty cool. It sounds like they were trying to do something different but also heavy, like it sounds like they were like we gotta have a heavy song, like let's make a heavy song.
Yeah.
But then
Well,
it's like they force themselves into that bucket, right?
yeah.
But then it's like all the decisions that they made regarding it, like I think that her scream sounds kind of weird, honestly, because I think it's just a little bit too low. Like they shouldn't have
Yeah.
detuned the guitars as much as they did, or just raise the key up to match some of the other songs where her voice fits a little more naturally. And then on top of that, don't give it that god awful fucking guitar tone that they keep doing for some reason on some of their newer albums when they're trying to be heavy. It doesn't sound heavy. It sounds the opposite. It sounds like crappy and cheap. And especially when you have access to like all of the mixing capabilities of the world, right? Like you guys should be able to make a very heavy sounding part. So
I feel like if Heavy is the Crown and Casualty switch places, we wouldn't be disappointed. I think Heavy is the Crown is the heaviest song on the album.
definitely, definitely, I would completely agree. Um, Yeah, but and so that's the thing that drives me nuts though is like they got it perfect on Heavy as the Crown. Like the guitar tones
Yeah.
are spot on. I genuinely think that it's like the mix and the sound and like the key that song that Casualty is in that really makes it fall flat. And it kind of makes me think a lot about like the hunting party where everyone always told me, "Oh, dude, Hunting Party's got like heavy guitars and stuff." But I went and listened, and I'm like, "No, not really. I mean, it is heavier, but it falls." I always felt like the Hunting Party fell flat, and I think it's because of that sound and that mix that they went for. It really almost sounds like punk, which I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't really associate Linkin Park with punk, like a punk
No.
sound. In fact, I think one of the best things about Linkin Park is that they have this really refined like mix and very meticulously planned out and like combed over composition, you know? You know what I mean? Like you listen to like going back to like In the End, right? You have this
Yeah.
combination of, you know, two singers rapping, one rapping, one singing, the piano, the guitars, the clean guitars, the drum samples, all of these really complicated, mixing elements. Like Linkin Park to me was never like a punk band. They were a very smart, like well put together band that took all of these crazy elements and mixed them together in a really interesting way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm Casualty. I don't know. It just I get what they're doing. And again, I come back to, even though I don't like the song, kind of like with Cut the Bridge, I appreciate them like trying some stuff and doing unique things. And I think that they were really enjoying it, and they were passionate about it, which I like. I just think it falls a little flat. So yeah, it would be between that one and Cut the Bridge for me. Um, so with that said, moving on for the next, for the rest of the album, uh, I actually like the rest of the album. Like they're to varying degrees. I think that those two songs, I think after Casualty, I was starting to get a little like, all right, what's happening? I haven't really enjoyed the two
Mhm.
new ones. But then coming into Overflow, we were talking about like my favorite song.
Mhm.
Overflow to me is the sleeper hit on this album. Um, I love Overflow. Like I just think the notes that they choose, the chord progressions, the vocal melodies, the lyrics, the layering, I think Overflow is extremely interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard a song quite like Overflow, and I just I really really like that song. There's a lot of good things I could say about that song. What did you think of Overflow?
Um, okay. So one of your thoughts, I thought you would have said it was just it's repetitive as fuck. That would have been, I thought, a gripe I would have got from you.
No,
Um, that's really my only gripe. I just feel like there's a lot of repetition.
I so
Um,
I think there's
but
the
that's it. I think it's.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say regarding the repetition, she does do like it's going down, it's going down, it's going down. I feel like if she
Yeah.
had said it like she does that twice in the song, and if she had said it's going down just like one more time, I would have been like I would have gotten
This
annoyed
is
with
not
it.
off.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they did just the right amount to like get that like get that repetition in there, but still keep it interesting. And I think that the note that she chooses, like that it's going down, like
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting note. And I think my big thing is the chords and the vocal melodies over the chords. Like
Yeah.
I really like
I can
it.
get behind that. I think musically it's probably, I was gonna say it's the most interesting,
I could
but it might not be the most interesting. It might be top 2, top 3 most interesting songs on the album. It's just lyrically, it lost me a little bit because of the repetition.
I see what you're saying. I could see that with the lyrics, but I kind of like I like the from what I gathered from the lyrics. I haven't read them all yet, but the lyrics for Overflow are about like doing too much until you're like past your breaking point, or like you're overflowing
Mhm,
basically. And I like that there's this gradual ascent in like intensity, to the
mhm,
point where by the second because the song is interesting structurally too. It's like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then it ends just like Katy Perry's song. Uh, but I think
yeah,
that the progression is really cool, and like the way that she sings the first verse, with it being like falsetto, and then the first chorus being falsetto, and then the second chorus being like her just belting out those falsetto notes from the first one.
mm,
I really liked it. I really liked that like progression of like we're gonna keep building and keep building, and I think it matches the theme of the song about being like overflowing, you know, too much going on, or like overwhelmed, or however you want to interpret it, right?
yeah,
Musically though, I think you're right. I think it's a contender for like the most interesting on the whole album. Um, Again, it's tough to compete with Heavy as the Crown. That song is a banger.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so but with that said, Overflow is really short. It's kind of like a quick. It's what is it? Oh no, it's 3.5 minutes. But see
Yeah.
that again, if doesn't it feels short to me because I think they nailed it. I didn't realize it was actually one of the longer songs on the album. Um, but yeah, so then that gets us into Two Faced,
Two Face.
Caught in the Middle.
Um, I like this song a lot.
Same, same. I really like
Um,
this song.
this made me feel like I was listening to like Hybrid Theory, Meteora, Linkin Park. I like the guitar riffage. I like the tone. It's heavy, heavier than Casualty.
Yep,
The scream's better.
yep, yeah.
Like you give me Casualty with this guitar tone and this kind of scream, better song.
I can't. I'm going to like maybe in like a month or like a few weeks. I'm going to look on YouTube and see if I can find somebody who's like remixed Casualty. Um, yeah, Two Face is great. One thing I wanted to note about this is like because we were talking about how you shouldn't come into this album just wanting like old school Linkin Park,
Oh, yeah.
but I have to say, man, when they nail it, they just nail it. Like
I agree.
that Linkin Park sound, like it's so fucking good. Like,
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, it's Linkin Park.
yeah, like it's just awesome. I love it. Like it kind of gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like it's so unique. No one else could do it. Like no one else can do it, you know?
Yeah,
And
I agree.
they just knock it out the park. I think Two Face specifically has like all of the classic Mr. Han wobbles in it. The wow wow
Yeah.
wow wow wow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was just great. Like yeah, Two Face is awesome. I do think Heavy as the Crown is still better, but like yeah, Two Face loved it. Just classic vibes. So
Yeah.
especially after
Yeah.
Overflow, where I feel like Overflow is definitely like more of a newer Linkin Park sound. If they've ever, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard a song like Overflow. Overflow is extremely unique to me.
I would agree. I have
But
to preface that with I haven't like 2017 or whatever. I didn't really listen to a lot of until
mhm.
their 2020 album, whatever it was.
Yeah,
I missed a couple albums is the point.
yeah. 2017 was the last album, and then
Hold on, I can tell you. So I disappeared after. Oh damn. Okay, I disappeared after Minutes to Midnight and didn't listen to another Linkin Park album until 2017. So I missed 10 years of Linkin Park.
yeah. So I listened to Thousand Suns. I wasn't really a big fan of it. Honestly, I think I listened to Living Things, but I completely forgot about that album. I was actually kicking myself a little bit because when I did the breakdown episode with Savannah, we were going through
Hmm.
all of their albums, but we didn't have it pulled up. We were just going through it, and I
Hmm.
just completely forgot that that album existed. Um, and then Hunting Party, I remember I listened to that when it came out and I wasn't really feeling it, so I just never listened to it again. And then I listened to it all again about like a few weeks ago and
Hmm.
kind of still felt the same, but like it was still good. It was still solid. Like I don't think it was as good as their other stuff, and I think it could have been better with like again like mixing things like pretty much the same complaints I have with Casualty. But then
Yeah,
One Last Light or One More Light, is it One More Light?
I think it's One More Light.
Yeah, the 2017 album, I'm not gonna lie, I completely panned that album. I listened to the first single and I was like, no, I'm good. um I just I had no interest. um but yeah, anyway, getting back to it, like I still I don't think I've ever heard Linkin Park do anything like Overflow, and if they have, it's maybe I just need to go back and listen to more of it. But in general, I don't think it takes away from how interesting that song is. But Two Faced is definitely like, okay, yeah, this is classic like Linkin Park. Like we're back,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, it's sure.
Yeah. Um, I will say I think Stained and I Give You Everything I Have are the two songs that I haven't like. Give me 1 second. Let me listen to a little bit of
Yeah.
Stained.
Oh, you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Get to a chorus.
That's right. Yeah. That's Stained. And then I Give You Everything I Have. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. I got him. So wait, before we move forward, did you have anything else on Two Faced?
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's top notch.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Stained. So Stained is another one where I feel like okay, well, initial thoughts, I like Stained. I think it's cool and it's definitely a little bit different. It's not like classic Linkin Park. It's definitely a newer
No.
style. But I
Yeah.
really like it and I actually like her vocal melody that the da na 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 na
Yeah.
na. That's a really interesting melody and they put that to good use. Um
I think they did a really good job of kind of complementing each other. I mean, I don't think duet's the right word to use here,
mhm.
but and obviously it's happened throughout the album as well. But I feel like this is their best example of it to me,
Yeah, they is this the
or at
song
least is the shining part.
real quick, is this the song where they duplicate each other, where they repeat each other? Hold on.
No, I think that's
I can't remember. Sorry. What were you saying?
okay. No, I think it's the
Good
I
things
gave you
go.
everything I have, or the good things go.
I think
It's one of these next three.
no, I'm pretty sure good things go. It's good things go. Um
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely not I gave you everything I had.
yeah, I gave you everything I have was kind of heavy. Um yeah.
Yes, it is good things go.
But yeah, Stained and I think Stained and I Give You Everything I Have are both really awesome songs. I don't think that they were like blowing my mind.
I don't love I give you everything I have. I won't
Really,
lie.
I think I
Yeah.
remember thinking the end of I Give You Everything I Have was just a little long. It was a little bit drawn out. And I was kind of like, okay, I get it. I get it. Um, but I really liked Stained. I thought it was an interesting, it's almost kind of like a ballad, but not quite. Um,
Yeah.
but then I Give You Everything I Have. Let me listen a little bit more to that one just to make sure.
Yeah. It just seems kind of whiny.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I Give You Everything I Have is kind of like, well, actually, here, let me say this about the whole album. I do think that this album is very, I would consider it to be like, in general, very waste free. Like every song is pretty unique and has its own character. Um,
Mm.
Even like Cut the Bridge and Casualty, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Those two songs are very different from each other and very different from the other songs on the album. So I really appreciate the diversity. I think I Give You Everything I Have is probably the song that's the most like, kind of normal. Like, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I think it's the one that stands out to me the least, which is why I'm having the most trouble remembering it.
Right.
Because like the second I heard Stained, I was like, oh yeah, that's the song with the
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
but I Give You Everything I Have, like it's just a song. It's a cool song. I wasn't
I
like
think
over the moon about it, but
yeah, for me it just seems a little whiny. I feel like maybe this is a song Emily might have had a lot of part in, which is not throwing shade at Emily. Well, again, I think she's a phenomenal
yeah, actually,
uh
it's funny you say that because
artist.
I did get the sense that this was like the boyfriend song type of deal.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just keeping it, look, I'm just gonna keep it real. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
this is the
Well,
song you write about your ex boyfriend or whatever, And so,
yeah. Um, I I this was something I would expect from Dead Sarah.
yeah.
Um, with like a Linkin Park twist. Like if you took the Linkin Park out of the song, this is something I would expect on a Dead Sarah album,
To be
which is
fair,
fine. Nothing wrong with that. I enjoy Dead Sarah.
I haven't heard Dead Sarah yet. I probably should go and listen to them. But yeah, this I do remember. Like now that you're talking about it, and I listened to a little bit more, I do remember that thinking like, oh, this is the boyfriend song. So, um, which here's the thing, like that's fine. Uh, it's just it's not as cool as songs like Overflow or Heavy as the Crown or Over Each Other. I just think those types of things are cooler. But look, The girlies are gonna love it. The girlies are gonna love it. No, I'm joking. Okay, anyway. um Good Things Go. I'm curious, what did you think of Good Things Go?
I'll let you go first because I
Di-
gotta refresh my brain here.
okay. I really like Good Things Go. I think it was a I think that the melody in the chorus, the na 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 na, I don't remember all the exact lyrics, but that build up to like her almost like screaming or like on the highest notes, it really is impactful, and it actually gave me the feeling of like I don't know how, it actually kind of like hit me in the feels a little bit, which is kind of hard to do these days. I'm pretty rational listening to music at this point. Like I'm pretty much just listening for the art of the songwriting, but for it to actually like make kind of give me goosebumps and get me in my feels a little bit, like wow, this is kind of powerful. Like I really like that, and I really liked Mike Shinoda's lyrics, everything he was saying, um, about like I can't remember all the exact lyrics. I should pull them up. I just the idea that like you beat yourself up a little bit over things that aren't your fault, you know.
Mm,
Um, Here, I'm pulling them up real quick.
good.
Yeah, it feels like it's rained in my head for 100 days. Stare in the mirror and I look for another face. Yeah, I asked for forgiveness for 100 times. Believed it myself when I halfway apologized. And it's not unfair. I'm asking for prayers, but nobody cares. Going nowhere, like falling downstairs while everyone stares. Um, yeah, his bridge was the one.
Yeah,
Um, Really great. I love the way that he raps, man. He's such an interesting
I was
rapper.
gonna say this is the song where Shinoda goes off like from his vocal
Yeah.
standpoint.
No,
Um,
yeah,
okay,
it was that bridge with him rapping that really like, but then the combination of that with Emily singing that chorus
yes.
melody, like
Um,
it really like I think it's really
it's a
great.
damn good song.
Yeah, it they had to have a song like this on this album, and I think that they nailed it. And I'm
I agree.
glad that they did it, you know?
I would say so. I think I was gonna say it might be the best song, which is different than my favorite song. I would say "Heavy is the Crown" and "Good Things Go" are probably two best songs on the album. Not necessarily favorite, but best.
I think that I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. I think the one thing that I would say, I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to actually critique it just a little bit. I was a little about the way that Emily was like mirroring Mike's vocals in the verse. Feels like it's rained in my head for
Yeah.
100 days. Feels like it's rained in my head for like I was kind of I don't know. That was just okay to me. Um, it's not like I'm being super nitpicky. Let me be clear.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like this is it,
That's the whole purpose of this.
well, and that's the thing too. I think it's fun when you actually have like a good song to actually talk about the parts that maybe didn't quite work, because it's like that's where you can really learn. Like when a song is just bad, it's like yeah, this is just trash. Or like you know what? I'm gonna trash Katy Perry some more. Women's World, like when you just have something that's so bland and empty and devoid of anything interesting, it's like you can't even really critique it. It's just like, yeah, this is all just boring, you know? But when something's
Mm,
actually good, I think that that's when you can start to get into like interesting critiques, because that means that they actually tried something unique, and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't. And maybe it worked for you or didn't work for you, but did work for somebody else, you know? Um, and that's just the nature of music, of art, right?
mhm.
But yeah, for me, I felt like the delayed vocal lines that Emily was doing during the verse, um i I thought they were just, what's the word, I just thought they were like, okay, I thought it was an interesting decision to make. it was a cool decision to make, and I respect them for doing it. I don't know if it quite resonated with me, but that's fine. I don't think they overdid it either, because even on like the last lines, she doesn't say the whole line, or she kind of changes the line a little bit at the end, or I think like the fourth line of each verse, she doesn't say it. There's something like that going on. Here, hold on, let me just pull it up real quick.
Hmm?
I'm gonna play it. Fourth line, they sing it together, so she's not delaying it. So the first two lines, she does the like echo. Then the third line, the third section, Mike raps fast on his own, and then the fourth line, they sing it together at the same time. So like that, from a compositional standpoint, is like really cool and really interesting to me. Like I love it, and they obviously worked really hard on that to get that to go right. Um, yeah, I still think those first two lines with her doing it, I'm like, it's okay, but it definitely doesn't like make or break the song for me. It's me being very nitpicky and just talking about like an interesting artistic choice that they made. Overall, I think that there is definitely a case to be made with what you said, with this song and Heavy is the Crown being the best songs on the album. Yeah. I would personally throw Overflow in there too, but that's just me.
I think that's fine. I think
Yeah.
that belongs in there too.
Yeah. Um yeah, and then I think it leads back into the intro, which that's fine. I'm not I'm not sure what the artistic intent there is.
I hope they documented a lot of them making the album, and they come up with some kind of like mini documentary type thing. Like I would love that as a fan.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like if they don't do something like that, or even like a YouTube thing, like 20, 30 minutes, like fucking missed opportunity.
I think yeah, I think that like the vast majority of the music community would be interested to see, where this band was at, and what it was like in the studio making this album. I think and actually I want to comment on this real quick, because I think it's actually a pretty cool thing to comment on. This album actually feels like it feels kind of inspiring to me. Like it's very inspiring. It doesn't feel like a downer. It doesn't feel like a loss. Like on one hand, it doesn't feel like they just went all in on like negative emotions and like the sorrow of the band and all of that. But then on the other hand, it doesn't feel like they were just like, oh, we need to release an album in order to make money, so we're just going to release bullshit or whatever. Like to me, this
Yeah,
album,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
this album doesn't feel like an L in the sense that like they had to make it or they went the wrong route making it. Like this actually feels like what happens to a band like Linkin Park when they
Yeah,
experience a huge tragedy, and how do they bounce back from that?
yeah,
And
for sure.
I personally like that. I like I
Yeah.
cuz
I'm excited for the next album.
yeah, right? I like maybe this will be a chance. Like this album was them maybe getting their shit back together, or like getting it back together, and then now they can like, it's like, oh man, what else can we do? Because this album is really short. It's like 30 minutes, and that's what I mean by,
37.
yeah, 30. It's 37.
Yeah,
Wait, I thought it was 30.
32.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was like, what? Because
Not that 5 minutes matters or 7 minutes, but
yeah, but anyway, so yeah, this album feels like a comeback, like but in a good way, like
yeah.
in a positive way. Like to me, this is like this is an inspiring
This is
album. Like
Yes. I like this is new beginnings.
yeah,
Not from nothing,
no,
but a new chapter.
exactly.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, and we've thrown some critiques out there, and I think we've stated our opinions on like Cut the Bridge and Casualty and all that, but like overall, I do think this is a really tight album. It is really good, or not. Here's the thing, it's a solid album.
Yeah.
It's short,
If you
it's waste
I
free.
hate
What's up?
I hate to do like a scale, but if you had to do a 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where do you think you'd put it?
Okay, so when it comes to these, I think it's like I hate choosing seven
I
because
know, I
seven
know.
is the shit answer. realistically, I'm gonna say if we can't choose seven, I would honestly give this album a six. And
Okay.
but like I think sometimes that can look down on, but like a six is above average. Like a
Yeah.
six is an above average album to me. And so
I
this,
would I would probably say the same, like a 6 or a 7 if that makes you feel better.
yeah, it's this is an above average album. I really enjoyed it. It has some missteps. There's not. It's safe in some ways, but very you know it's this is what I mean by like that passion project idea, right? Where
Yeah.
they were passionate about it. So they were doing things that they were enjoying doing. They were trying
Yes.
things out. You can tell with each like good things go. Even if I don't like that echoed vocal that Emily does, it's at least interesting that they did it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I like
they
that.
exactly. And so that's the thing. Like I'd rather a band do something interesting and maybe it doesn't quite hit me, and maybe I'm not like the biggest fan of it, then them just stick to something safe and do something boring, you know?
I don't think I've ever had an album come out make me more excited for the next album that comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Um, because like to me, I mean, this is like imagine if you just didn't play guitar for like 10 years and then you picked one up like one day out of nowhere, you know?
And
Like
you're a whole different
you're like
person.
yeah,
You just got all this new you have a whole new perspective on like creativity and
yeah.
songwriting and all of that, you know? I see what you're saying.
I'm excited for the next album. Like and it's probably 2 to 4 years away.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't hold your breath. Um but yeah, I it's cool. It's a cool album. Yeah, I think yeah, I think a six. I feel good at a six. I'm like banning myself from using a seven.
I
Um
don't know why I feel like a 7's so bad.
it's not that it's bad, it's that it's just that's what everyone I feel like that's like the standard answer. It's like the safe answer. And it's like,
Okay.
are you gonna put it up there with the eights, nines, and tens, or is it average? And are you gonna put it in the four, five, six range? You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
seven is like the safe, like you can't go wrong labeling something a seven. You know, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. Like, is it an average album? Is it slightly above average, or is it really is it good? Is it like in the
Yeah.
upper echelons? You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, cool album though. I will definitely be listening some more. I do want to listen to Good Things Go a little bit more. I'll probably be skipping over Casualty. I don't know. Maybe Casualty will grow on me.
I don't think so.
I'm not thinking
Gonna be
so
real.
either. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna grow. You know, it's really annoying with something like Cut the Bridge too, where it's like that song to me, it can't grow on me because the
Right.
issue I have
It's the
with this,
snare.
like, yeah, like that's my issue is that it's too repetitive with that snare. So listening to it more is not going to make me like you see what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like if I
I
just
get
listen,
it.
if I listen to that snare more and more, maybe I'll like it more. It's like, no. The problem is that I listen to it too much on my first listen of the song, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of a frustrating problem to have because it's like, I want to like that song, but yeah, it was such a strange decision, but hey, you know, again, that's kind of the pro and con of making creative decisions like that, like doing things that are risky. uh
Hmm.
you know, sometimes it doesn't quite work, and that's part of it, you know, is what I was just saying about like I'd rather them do something like that where at least I can say like, man, that is wild that they use the snare throughout the whole song. Like I don't know why they did that and I don't really like it. I would rather them do that though than just make something really boring and bland and cookie cutter.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like the price of being creative, right? Sometimes it's
Yes.
so cool. Well, yeah, I think we pretty much summed it all up. I mean, unless there's anything else, if you had any other thoughts on it that we missed.
No, I think um yeah, I think like you gotta listen to it. new Linkin Park fan, old Linkin Park fan, I think there's something in it for everybody, and I hope that people are willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I agree. I know
I
there's.
think
Sorry, go ahead.
it's interesting. I mean, this is kind of like related to Linkin Park, but not the album. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if you saw the Rockaville lineup that just got announced. Um,
Um.
but basically, it looks like Linkin Park will be headlining most of the major American summer festivals in 2025.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny because
Um,
like Lincoln, Lincoln Park's been gone for a while, but uh, like they are huge, man. I mean,
yeah.
the Emptiness Machine. I'm looking at it on Spotify now. It's got 256 million streams.
Holy crap.
Like, like don't sleep on Lincoln Park. Like, they
Uh,
are not. You know, that's why I think it's funny. These people like, oh, don't. It's not Lincoln Park, or it's just what it's like.
doesn't make
It's like, well, it's kind of like when people talk about Lars, right? We were talking about Metallica last week, where it's like, oh, Lars is just so like bad at drumming, or Lars is just such a mid drummer, or whatever. It's like you realize that you are talking about like probably the most famous drummer ever, like
yeah.
of all time. Like you're talking about. I'm not saying that this. I'm not making any statement on the quality of the music or the playing or whatever. What I'm saying is sometimes it's like it's surreal to really think about like how huge these bands are. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
For reference, Nobody by Avenged Sevenfold has 42 million streams,
Wow.
and that's the most streamed album off of Life Is But a Dream on Spotify.
Yeah.
So
Wild.
wild stuff. Yeah, empty. They really knocked it out of the park with Emptiness Machine. I think that maybe that's like the last part to talk about is like as far as a press run goes, this was like top
They did
tier.
it. Yeah, they did it right.
That like other bands should fucking study this album rollout because it was like A plus plus plus. Just incredible album rollout. So yeah,
Um, I liked how we managed to get our Vince Sevenfold reference right there in.
I know, right? I thought
That
we were
was
gonna
good.
miss it.
I was just thinking about that. Glad you got that in. Good job.
Yep.
Other than that, unless you have anything else to say, I
Um,
think
no,
go ahead.
I don't.
Uh again, give it a listen. Open minded.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Chester. I can't wait for the next album.
Yeah, right. Well, oh, actually, I do want to say that something real quick. I
Yeah,
had this thought, and it was just something that I don't know. It was just a thought that came into my head, and I'm just gonna say it. I feel like Chester would have fucking loved this album.
I agree.
I feel like if Chester heard this, he would be like, "Oh man, you guys nailed it." Like I just
Yeah,
feel that. Like
yeah, I agree.
yeah, I just want to say that. Like I was sitting in the car and like again as somebody.
I wonder if his wife or his any of his
Oh, sorry, Aubrey, you disconnected for a second. What'd you say?
oh no, I'm wondering if like Chester's family has made a comment on the album or anything yet.
They haven't commented on the album, but his son is going. His son is basically doing a press run about how Linkin Park is erasing his dad and like have been
Yeah,
disrespectful. Um,
yeah, that's why I knew that. That's why I was curious.
yeah, I mean, I don't understand how you could say that or how that could. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Whatever. I don't know. Like I haven't
yeah,
gotten that feeling at all from this. If anything, I've
I
gotten
haven't.
the exact opposite feeling that they have like
Yeah,
gone above and beyond to make it clear that like they love Chester, they miss Chester, you know.
yeah. I don't think that's ever. Yeah, that's never
Yeah.
been a
So
question. I think for a lot of people.
yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't know about the sentiments of his whole family and all of that, but I have not. That is not the vibe, the famous word, the vibe that I have gotten from Linkin Park. But yeah,
Yeah,
I was listening, and then like what I was gonna say is, as somebody who grew up listening to Linkin Park, as you did, like
yeah,
literally listening to Linkin Park for like 20 years at this point, you I get the sense that Chester would have really, really loved this album. He would have thought it was a really good album. Like just knowing what I know about Chester as a songwriter, as a musician, as a
yeah,
lyricist, like you can just,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and so cool. I think on that note, then, I mean, unless you got anything else, I think
Oh,
that could be a wrap.
only one thing left to do.
One thing, water.
Hey!